The year was 1977. The Boston FM airwaves were abounding with the songs of Deborah Harry and Blondie.
One way or another, I'm gonna find you. I'm gonna get you one way or another. I'm gonna
Elvis Costello.
Allison, I know this world is killing you. Oh, Allison.
And Cheap Trick. But there was a sound emanating from the local club scene that couldn't be stopped. It was the sound of the Cars.
I guess you're just what I needed. Just what I needed. I needed someone to feed. I guess you're just what I needed. Just what I needed. I needed someone to please.
This is Dave Sholin. For the next 90 minutes, we'll take a look at one of the most successful groups in contemporary rock, featuring exclusive interviews with the band's founding members, Ric Ocasek.
I still don't know where we're going, and I'd like to not ever know. I don't want to know what the next record's going to sound like. I just take it when it comes.
And Benjamin Orr.
Whether you want to or not, you have to know about the business as much as you can. Otherwise, you're going to walk in the studio blind, or you're going to sign a piece of paper, and then God knows what's going to happen to you then. There's so many bands out there that they're just wandering around doing whatever they do and not making any money at it because they didn't know in the first place that they can ask for certain things and really get it.
And we'll hear all their great music from Just What I Needed to Shake It Up.
Dance all night, play all day. Don't let nothing get in the way. Dance all night, keep the beat. Don't you worry about too, let me shake it up.
The Cars, riding the new wave. The Cars formed in Boston in early 1977. The founding members were lead singer, songwriter, and rhythm guitar player Ric Ocasek and his friend, bass player and vocalist Benjamin Orr.
Rick and I have been playing together for about 8 years together. At the time when we first came to Boston, we found Greg Hawkes, our keyboard player. And he did some tracks with us at the local studio, and we loved him. He was great, he was incredible. Words can't describe it, for myself anyhow. So we kept him, and he was around. He played with a couple other bands in the meantime, but we always did studio stuff together. Then we found Elliot. He joined Rick and myself for a while, and then Rick and Elliot and Greg. And then came David. We stole him from DMZ at the time. And that's how we formed, actually. We started practicing in Rick's cellar. And the band got together. We went out to the studio. We decided to do some live 2-track tapes. That's what they were. We laid them down in the studio. After a few months, one of the disc jockeys in Boston picked it up. They just started playing it, and the people started calling in with response. The next thing I knew, it was being played every day. 2-3 times a day, just a live 2-track tape. That word got to New York. New York loved it. Out came the record companies in droves. Saw us and, started making offers.
The Cars signed with Elektra Records and connected with English record producer Roy Thomas Baker.
Roy happened to come on the scene while we were playing a gig at Harvard University in Boston. And he came, he liked it. We talked. He said, "Will you?" He says, "Okay." He's a professional to begin with, and he doesn't have to rely on one specific sound, as we do.
The band recorded their debut album, The Cars, in London in February of 1978. The LP yielded their first hit single, Just What I Needed, which was immediately added by radio stations nationwide. The Cars were hailed as a truly creative new musical force. Ric Ocasek pens most of the Cars material and explains his songwriting technique.
I do it 2 ways. I either write a song and put parts on it, in my own studio at home, take it in, and have the band decide whether they would either like to do the song, period, A, or use some of the parts I might have suggested. In some cases, they are used, and in some cases, they're not. Or I might take a song and that I just wrote on a cassette with a guitar and leave it totally up in the air about how it's going to get done.
The Cars drummer David Robinson supplied the band with their name, and as Benjamin Orr points out,
There are people who think that the way the band sounds and the way the rhythm runs and the staccato parts of certain songs reminds them of Cars.
when we continue, the Cars release their second hit single and pick up a platinum record for their debut LP. The Cars received a platinum record in October of 1978 for their first album and released a second single from the LP, My Best Friend's Girl. The Cars were getting hot both here in the U.S. and abroad. In late 1978, the band toured the United States, France, Holland, Belgium, and Germany. And as Benjamin Orr recalls, they were unsure how foreign audiences would receive them, as was the case when they played in London.
We were told that the British audiences were very subdued. They would definitely scope you out, make sure that you knew that they were there. Fortunately, they were absolutely incredible while we were here. Beautiful people.
Cars had come a long way since playing in Ric Ocasek's basement in Boston. In 2 short years, they had a double platinum album under their belt and were named the best new artists of 1978 by readers of Rolling Stone, Cream, Crawdaddy, Circus, and Performance magazines. Coming up next, a look at Ric Ocasek, the man and his music. And now we continue with the Cars, riding the new wave. The subject of many of the songs Ric Ocasek writes for the band deals with the ups and downs of romance.
Yeah, it will. It will always be probably. And it's probably 80% of my brain is non-romance or romance, one or the other. Does that mean I'm horny or what?
I can't feel this way much longer, expecting to survive. With all this hidden innuendos just waiting to arrive.
Most of the Cars material is written by singer and rhythm guitar player Ric Ocasek.
It's my first love, and it became something that, I had control over the style of it. Or became a style just from like a fool is wise in his folly.
But on the song Moving in Stereo, keyboard player Greg Hawkes shared the writing credits with Ric. Ric Ocasek.
I'm no happier or sadder than any human being. In that sense, the words happy, sad, I don't relate to too well. I don't know if I get depressed. Maybe I do. I mean, I do, but I don't think of it in terms of depression. It's just sort of like a mood I get into.
In our next segment, the Cars release their second album, Candy-O, and pick up another platinum record. In February of 1979, the Cars returned to the studio, this time in Los Angeles, to cut their second album with Roy Thomas Baker. The LP, Candy-O, wasn't released until 2 months after its completion due to the fact that their first album was still riding high on the charts. But in June of '79, more than 600 radio stations across the country debuted Candy-O. The single, Let's Go, reached number 3 on the charts, and in less than 2 months, the album was certified platinum. The unique rhythm sounds of the Cars are supplied by drummer David Robinson and bass player Benjamin Orr.
For me, it's power. Myself and David supply the power. We are the engine. That's what it is to me. It's also melodic. A bass instrument is melodic to me. I don't go into playing straight boom, boom, 4, I like to experiment a bit and sweeten it up, put a little melody behind the bass part. I think it helps. We'll let the audience be the judge.
In concert, the Cars are meticulous in recreating the unique sound they produce in the studio. Ric Ocasek.
Actually, things aren't as complicated as they sound on records. There's not a lot of effects and things. It just seems like there is. The only thing that's maybe hard to duplicate live is like heavily layered vocals. Beyond that, I mean, there's only look, when you get down to it, there's only about two kinds of effects. There's delay units, and everything is almost a delay. A flanger's a delay, digital's a delay, an analog's a delay. Everything's a delay, and everything works on a delay principle, except maybe a vocal stressor or something. Other than that, well, rhythm machines, we definitely bring those on the road with us and use them.
With the exception of the Panorama album, all the Cars album covers depict beautiful women. When we continue, we'll take a look at the erotic art of Candio and how a famous pinup illustrator bumped into the Cars. The cover girl of the Cars Candio LP originated from the pen of artist Alberto Vargas, who enhanced the fantasies of American males for 20 years in the pages of Playboy magazine with his famous Vargas Girls. It was drummer David Robinson who pulled Vargas out of retirement. The artist had put down his paintbrush for 4 years, saddened by the death of his wife, to whom he had been faithful for 50 years. But at the age of 83, Vargas created the cover of Candio and what would become one of his most famous works. The Cars have had their share of management and legal hassles, and the band has been described as being detached. Ric Ocasek.
I think the detachment part mainly comes from the way I see people reacting to other people in detached, alienated ways. Afraid to give, afraid to get. But maybe now in retrospect, those things, were in my head, swimming around.
The futuristic sounding music Ric Ocasek has created for the Cars has been termed by many as techno rock.
People are so afraid of technology and all that business. I can't sympathize with that really, because I feel like, we're in the middle of that age. You're at the beginning of it, and you really have to make an adjustment to it pretty quick, because it's not going to go away. You really shouldn't be afraid of it. I mean, it takes away jobs, but for the last 50 years or so, nobody's signed their work anyway. They screw the bolt on. If it falls off, who cares? I mean, in Japan, they care that bolt's on there. It's a little sloppy here, It's the same way with relationships.
Next, the Cars release Panorama, build their own state-of-the-art recording studio, and shake it up. In August of 1980, the Cars released their most innovative album ever, Panorama. It may have been a bit esoteric, but the Cars were moving forward, and at the same time, their first album had been certified platinum in Canada, double platinum in New Zealand, and silver in the United Kingdom. It was on the Billboard charts longer than any other pop group's LP, except Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon. In 1981, Ric Ocasek and the Cars built their own studio and recorded their fourth album, Shake It Up.
We took an existing studio in Boston and updated it totally into a 40-track computerized, state-of-the-art ambient room. Built a nice kitchen so Roy could cook down there, and we have a film editing facility. It's all video linked. And it's the only, of course, in Boston, that's it. It's the one. And we did it out of necessity. We felt like we would prefer to record at the point of inspiration rather than waiting until June 3rd at 8:30 in the morning. And it enabled us to record when we felt like it for as long as we felt like it.
The album Shake It Up had more of a commercial sound than its experimental predecessor, Panorama.
Yeah, it's the big return to pop. It's like we threw them off with Panorama. They thought we were going insane, and now we came back. Mid-America will be happy once again.
Ric Ocasek will soon be releasing a solo album on Geffen Records, but says this will not have any negative effect on his relationship with the Cars.
There's certain songs, that I just feel like should be approached, I mean, I'm all for democracy in bands. The other thing is, I really respect and love the people in the band and what they do. And it's not like I'm looking for better people or anything like that. I'm not looking for that at all. I'm just looking to go other places that, sometimes 5 people might not agree that that's a place to go. But, I have nothing to gain or lose. I don't care if I go there or not. It is going to definitely be better when the Cars make their next record. There should be some significant movement. The Cars are the Cars, and whatever we do will probably basically sound like the Cars, because it's almost like, you know, in your lifetime, as much as you think you change, if you look back 10 years, I mean, you might have changed, but nobody changes that much. And basically, the Cars are going to sound like the Cars, but I'm sure that there'll be some real interesting twists.
The Cars, Riding the New Wave, was produced by the Creative Factor of Hollywood. Written and produced by Phil Harvey. Engineered by Peter Perkins. Executive producer Jim Hampton. This is Dave Sholin. The Cars, Riding the New Wave. Copyright 1982 by the Creative Factor.